Hey, everybody. It is Eric J. Olson for another episode that we're doing live for the Managing Partners podcast. And I'm in my new office with a beautiful white wall behind me. There will be wallpaper there eventually. But for now, it's just white and primed and ready for wallpaper. So over the next couple of episodes, you're going to see some changes. But that is not the exciting part of today. The exciting part is my guest, Amin Wasserman. Hey, Ivan, how you doing?
I'm great, Eric. I have a white wall too, but we have one piece of art on the wall, so I'm one up on you.
Yeah, you one up to me. Well, let me tell the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll chit chat a little bit. So, Amin Wasserman is the managing partner of one of the nation's leading regulatory and intellectual property law firms with offices in Chicago and Washington, D.C., and one new mystery office that just opened today, which we're going to hear about in a moment. They represent a sophisticated client base, including Fortune 500, middle market, and emerging companies in the food, dietary supplement, cosmetic, and medical device industries. He was also included in Best Lawyers in America from 2007 through 2021. That's a long run. Good for you.
Means I'm old.
I like this part too, because we're a digital marketing and advertising company. And named 2018 and 2020 Advertising Lawyer of the Year for Chicago. My guest today is Amin Wasserman. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
Thank you very much, Eric. It's a pleasure to be on. I love what you're doing and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, cool. Thanks for making time for us. So, a mystery new office. What's that all about?
So just today, it's a very momentous day for me to be on the Managing Partners podcast because my management has increased. Today, our firm announced that we opened an office in Los Angeles.
All right.
So now we are truly what I like to call a national boutique law firm with offices now in LA, DC, and Chicago. And I can talk about why LA is so strategically important to our firm and our clients.
Yeah, let's hear about it. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so the firm, as you mentioned in the bio, sort of does what I do. We are really a dedicated boutique to those industries, to the food, beverage, dietary supplement, which for those of you who don't know are sort of your GNC products, herbal supplements, probiotics, vitamins and minerals, those sorts of things. Cosmetics and medical devices. What all those things have in common is they're all regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. And sort of the firm started out and sort of still is our core niche practice is helping on those FDA regulations that are different but apply to all those types of products. Sort of the second pillar of the firm historically has been intellectual property. So that's both patent and trademark. And so if you can imagine, if you're launching a brand new soda, a brand new cosmetic, those are two things that you're going to need legal help for. One is how does FDA regulate it and what sort of regulations do I cover my product? How do I make it? What can I say about it? And the second thing would be intellectual property. When you come up with a name, you have to protect the brand. You have to make sure no one else has the rights to that name. And so we help with the trademark prosecution. And some products, not all products certainly, but especially in the medical device area and some of the more sort of some of the supplements and things also have patent protection issues, so we can patent it. More and more, you may have read about in the press, these types of products are facing litigation from consumer class actions. The earliest cases involves natural. Right? What's natural? So products that contain high fructose corn syrup, we're calling themselves natural. And sure enough, high fructose corn syrup isn't aspartame. It's not wholly created in the lab, but it started as corn, but it's no longer corn. It goes through all sorts of machinations and things, and people put it then in your drink or your pasta sauce were the early cases. And so lawsuits were filed against these companies, essentially claiming that these products deceived consumers because they weren't natural, whatever natural meant. And since that time, these lawsuits have just proliferated big time. It's gone beyond natural. It's gone to like, no artificial colors, like not stating how much protein you have in your product the right way. Saying your product is from California and it's really not. You name it, anything that goes on the label of a product or an advertisement is now oftentimes the subject of a lawsuit. And the vast majority of those lawsuits are filed in California for a variety of reasons. There's also something called Prop 65, which you may have heard about, which essentially says if your product exposes a consumer to any of a list of chemicals that are known to the state of California to cause cancer or reproductive harm, you got to put a warning on there. Anyone who lives in California that's listening knows that warning. Problem is, it's on so many products, everyone's ignoring that warning, which is making it not as effective as it once turned out. But that is also proliferating in lawsuits. So our clients, we found, were facing lawsuits in California on an increasing basis. We worked with a California firm, because we didn't do the litigation in California. We weren't barred in California. And we said, hey, let's stop, if we can, sending this stuff to another law firm. Let's keep it in-house. Our clients like us. Our clients want to stay with us. So as of today, we have an LA office, and now we can better serve our clients if they happen to find themselves facing litigation in California.
That's great. As far as the warning label, is it like for things like, plastic cups and that this, may leak some sort of toxin into me, like warnings like that, those kinds of products?
Warnings like that. So if you ever spend time in California, you'll see on gas stations, it'll say warning, this establishment uses chemicals which are known to the state of California to cause cancer or reproductive harm. Plastics can be an issue. The main issue that our clients face is typically heavy metals. So a lot of our clients are in the natural space. Let's say it has wheatgrass in a greens drink. You've all had it, your favorite smoothie places. Because it's growing from the land, there's lead in the ground. There's a certain amount of naturally occurring lead that just leaches into grass, right?
Sure.
It just leaches into all sorts of different things. And the state of California set a very, very, very low threshold for how much lead can be in a product. And so typically for the sort of natural products, what trips them up, even though there's thousands of chemicals on this list, are lead, cadmium, mercury. You might have read recently about rice having mercury in it and stuff like that. And, they're very trace levels, and whether or not it actually presents a health hazard is a whole other story. And the other interesting thing about Prop 65, it's very unusual in that not only can the state take an action for violating its law, but there's sort of a bounty hunter provision in there. So private attorneys can send you a notice saying, we tested your product, you don't have the warning, you need it. They have to offer the state of California the opportunity to sue. If California turns it down, and they often do, they can sue on behalf of the state and collect money. So there's lots of little private enforcers out there.
That's really interesting. I hadn't heard of that before. So this is almost like a class action lawsuit, but without the class, I guess, right? The masses of people. Yeah.
Well, I guess it is. You're right. There's not a lot of named plaintiffs, but I guess, the settlement amounts can relate to sales, right? So depending on how many products you sold in California that needed the warning without the warning.
That's wow. That's really
Yeah.
How did you get into the niche that you're in, which is basically all around FDA regulation?
Since I was born, Eric, I've just kidding.
Something I always dreamed about doing.
How does anyone get into what they do these days? No, like everyone else, it's really chance, luck, fortune, whatever. I went to law school probably for the wrong reasons, because I didn't want to be a doctor, and that was really my only other choice. I'm not a litigator, so we have wonderful litigators at our firm. It's really not in my DNA. I grew up in Connecticut. I moved to Washington, D.C. for law school, where I still am. And once I was in D.C., there's these niche regulatory practices that don't really exist in the rest of the country. And while I was in law school, I actually clerked and ended up working at a healthcare law firm doing Medicare reimbursement work, which is pretty much as interesting as it sounds. I met with my partner when I was an eager young law student. I said, well, what class should I take third year in law school to prepare me to be a Medicare reimbursement lawyer? And he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, accounting. I knew right then and there that wasn't for me. I'm sort of a creative, fun guy. And then, 1995 rolls around and I answer an ad in the Legal Times. Back then, things were in print. It wasn't all Craigslist and online, for a job as an FDA advertising attorney associate at a really exciting little boutique that was run by a brilliant woman who used to be general counsel of the FDA. And I said, that's a law. People pay you to, read Estee Lauder's advertisement and rewrite it. That's a career. And applied, had the job, and the rest, as they say, is history. My sort of path took me from that boutique to big law, and I spent most of my career in big law firms. Right before this boutique, I was a managing partner. I was managing partner of the Washington, D.C. office of Manat, Phelps and Phillips, which is a national firm. And, at that firm, I was a niche guy. I was a niche practice within this large firm that did banking to entertainment, to my little weird practice of dietary supplements. And then about 5 years ago, I sort of got the bug to do something different, and sort of wanted to be a small business owner, which is what a small firm managing partner is. And I knew this firm. They were only in Chicago at the time. It was started by Rakesh Amin, my partner, who was actually a Walgreens pharmacist. He put himself through law school while being a pharmacist full time. And so he, through the pharmacy connections and through other connections, sort of fell into this type of law. And I saw what they were doing in Chicago, really making a name for themselves. And 5 years ago, joined and started the DC office. And we're now 4 or 5 in Washington, about 22 in Chicago. And now we're 2 in Los Angeles as of today.
That's excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about advertising and marketing. So you clearly have a background in advertising, which is great. How do you go about getting new clients?
It's a great question. And it's when I think about, obviously, especially as a small firm, it's hard to compete on the budget with the big law firms that we're competing with. And so, you get creative. We recently started something called Amin in a Minute, which is a play that I came up with on Amin, which is the first name of the firm, in a minute. And they're 1 minute videos, literally 1 minute. We put a little countdown clock. So, people enjoy podcasts, but people don't have a lot of time. So I figured, let's just do a snippet. And we've had some fun with that. We post those on LinkedIn and on a YouTube channel. We speak a lot. My whole career, I've done a lot of speaking. We try to write articles. We get picked up in the press. We attend trade shows. There's tons of twist my arm. There's trade shows with just people selling their new food products, and I get to walk around and say, hey, do you need a lawyer? But, as I do, Eric, advertising and all those sort of proactive things are important, but I would say we get 90% of our clients through referrals, and you get referrals for doing great work for your clients, doing great work for anyone for the clients of anyone who refers to you. And, doing all that stuff, I think, is important, not to maybe get a client on the first instance, but when someone else is referring them to you, hey, you should use Amin Talati Wasserman, having that not be the first time they heard of your name is incredibly important. Oh, I know those guys. I like what they're doing on LinkedIn. I know those guys. I heard one of them speak at a conference. Oh yeah, those guys seem like they know what they're doing. So yeah, we're very fortunate to have great relationships with industry leaders, and it's been wonderful.
It's great about referrals, and I totally agree. Referrals are the best source of new business by far. They're very, very powerful, but you're right. You don't want it to be necessarily the very first time that a prospect has heard of you. So you need to create a little bit of brand awareness, and then that referral just validates everything that they were thinking about when they thought about you in the first place.
Yeah, I think, and I thought about that before this conversation, because you kindly provided me some of these questions, and it's really the first time it came to mind, because you can speak all you want. I speak to hundreds and hundreds of people. The amount of times right after that I get a new client, I can probably count on. So the question is, do you keep doing it? And the answer is yes. Of course you keep doing it. Yes, of course you keep posting and working on SEO and all that great stuff. But at the end of the day, if you got 12 hours in a day, most of that time, all the time that you need to, should be spent on doing great work for your clients, because they're the ones who are going to tell others about you.
Yeah, completely agree. As far as the different kinds of things that you could do with your time, you mentioned a lot of different things, right? So like SEO, you mentioned blogging, you mentioned the women in videos, which I think is fantastic. You mentioned LinkedIn, so social media, a lot of different things that other managing partners could try. If someone wasn't doing any of those things, where would you maybe recommend that they start? Like which one of those things, or maybe something else would you recommend that they try to start to generate that brand awareness?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it certainly depends on what industry you're in. If you're in, if you're just a general litigator that'll do anything, or a general tax guy that'll do anything, I guess that's, to me, a lot more challenging, right? But if you're in a niche industry, I think the best place to get the brand awareness is being where the companies are. So yeah, it's great to attend ABA things. You get referrals from other law firms. Wonderful. It's great to attend other things, but to go to, if you're in the cement business, to go to the cement trade shows, just to shake hands, to take people out to dinner, to just call. Don't be afraid to call the media, the trade press media. These days, everyone's looking for content. No one's turning away free content. So, people are afraid. Well, if I write an article, why would they publish my article? Try them. They'd be flattered. If there is trade press covering your industry and you hear about a story idea, write the reporter. Say, hey, and you start to get quoted. You develop a relationship with the reporter. It's never been easier through the internet to get your name out there. LinkedIn is great. It's the best. Facebook, I don't normally post business stuff on Facebook. I like to keep those two things separate. My dog has her own Facebook page who's sitting at my feet. But today I posted about the LA office just because it was so exciting, and I probably got 80 likes and congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned going to conferences before, walking around. These are like beverage conferences and whatnot, and you clearly have a really good sense of who your ideal prospects are. And a sales trainer told me years ago, first identify your ideal prospect and then figure out where they hang out and go there. And so that's exactly what you've done with the conferences. It's what you've done with the LA office. It makes a lot of sense. So that sounds like a pretty strong strategy for getting new prospects. And you did mention referrals before, and I acknowledge that referral is absolutely the best way to get new clients. And one of the things about referrals, though, is that it's sometimes difficult to turn up that demand or to predict when those referrals are going to come. No matter what, when they come, you want them. But at least with other things like creating brand awareness or even advertising campaigns, you're in some control. You may not get the results like you would get with a referral, but you're in control, and you can turn it up, you can turn it down.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, just relying on referrals and just stopping marketing is, I think, a recipe for disaster. We all want, as much work as we have, we always want more work, more brand awareness. So even when times are good, we're out there hustling, which is very important.
Yep. And now you'll be hustling in LA, which was the big move. So congratulations.
Yes. We're so excited. Two great litigators joined us. One, William Cole, was actually the former head of the criminal division for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Southern California. Before representing Supplement Company, he was literally prosecuting Al Qaeda. So if that doesn't make the plaintiff's lawyers scared, what will? No, we're thrilled and honored that both Matt and William joined us.
That's
getting
great.
our name out there, which is, again, with a smaller firm, it's easier in a smaller industry than I think if you're a small firm in a big industry to create a national reputation. And maybe smaller firms are more focused on a local market, which is great. We're focused on really a global market, which is a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun is the message I want everyone to take away from this.
I'm sure that you were very focused on the LA office right now and integrating with the other offices, but if you had to think maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 years ahead, and without giving away the secret sauce, of course, what's kind of like your next move, you think?
Geographically, we don't have anything specifically prepared. I think we really do want to expand our litigation capabilities even more in California. I don't think we want to stop with 2 attorneys. Want to have a fully functional, office there, and not to say it's not functional now, but to keep going. Interestingly, someone on Facebook said, "When's your Colorado office opening?" And a Colorado office is sort of interesting, mainly because have you been following this hemp and CBD and all that stuff? So CBD, which is the part of the cannabis plant that doesn't get you high, but it has medicinal values, is just exploding, and we do a lot of work in that space, as you can imagine. And Colorado does have sort of a very high concentration of people in that space and people in the natural food space in general. So you never know. Don't want to give it away.
Yeah, and that industry is it's growing. So I'm in Virginia, which is the middle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And I was shocked when I found out that as of July 1st, you're going to be able to grow your own plants. You can carry up to an ounce, which sounds like a lot to me. I mean, not that I've ever seen it or anything, but
no.
Yeah, but it's surprising that it's spreading like a weed.
Like a weed, yeah. Yeah, there's firms out there that are just serving that's like marijuana industry, because every state has its own regulations, and it's a big emerging market in the legal space. We generally stay away from marijuana, the high stuff, and focus on the stuff that you can actually still put in food and stuff, which is the CBD stuff. It's just a little bit of a different niche. Niches within niches, as you know, Eric.
Very, very powerful. Yeah. And I think that's something we touched on a couple of times during this interview, but niches is where the riches are. Right?
I like it.
But it seems very like a very powerful business tactic. It's also kind of a scary one because you feel like you're limiting yourself to a particular niche. But the more accurate that you can identify who your prospects are, who you do really good work for, the more likely it is that you'll get their attention and you'll get within that community. So it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, niches within niches. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I think it's great.
Great. Yep.
Well, awesome, Ivan. If someone wants to reach out and get in touch with you, what is a good way to do that?
My email address or my law firm, my email address is just ivan@amintalati.com. The website is amintalati.com, AMINTALATI.com. Love to hear from anyone who wants to chat.
Awesome, Ivan. Well, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. This has been a lot of fun.
All right, everybody. If you would like to watch or listen to more episodes like this, go check us out at arraylaw.com/podcast. And if you are a managing partner looking to spice up your digital marketing, you can find out more about my company, Array Digital, at arraylaw.com. All right, Ivan. Hey, man, I appreciate it.
No problem. Enjoyed it. Thanks, Eric.
You got it.